Thank you for browsing page 121. Today I'm going to answer the question, what is the Galaxiad in Traveler? First off, you see we have an issue of X-Boat. This is a fanzine that's available through DriveThruRPG. I've shown this before. Here's the front cover for Special Supplement 2, The Far, Far Future. What the heck does that mean? Well, it means that we're not done creating universes for Traveler. That's the short answer. Galaxiad is... Well, first off, this was published in 2023, and it belongs to Far Future Enterprises. And X-Boat SS2 Special Supplement 2 Galaxiad Gaming Kit. And this is written for Traveler 5, but would translate flawlessly to many, many versions of Traveler that are out there, any other 2x6 game you're playing. And this is Galaxiad, an epic popular in human Vargarian Aztlan society in the pastoral era of 1800 to 2000. Set in the Imperial Golden Age, it tells of the legendary, perhaps apocryphal, siblings as they progressively encounter and unravel clues to a threat to the very existence of the universe, and then travel the length and breadth of the Galaxiad to stop it. So there you go. Galaxiad is not a term I'm familiar with. Galaxian is, and I thought of that right away when I saw this, and nice nod to the video game, if nothing else. I always like Galaxian. But what is it in Traveler? It is 700 years after the Imperium, and the era of huge empires is over. Most worlds stand alone, looking inward, lost in the dangerous wilderness of ungoverned space. Crossing the wilds of perilous silk roads, touching scattered important worlds. These roads connect a few subsector-sized civilizations. Within these small empires, most people live on safe worlds and vital economies. And yet, travelers still explore. The stars are still there, with unexplored worlds, strange peoples, allies, and foes alike. There are secrets to unlock and struggles to overcome. For some, the reward is worth the risk. That's it. That's a good summation of what Galaxiad is. It's set 700 years after the Imperium, and it's a new setting for Traveler. It's not quite the Golden Age, because the wilds exist because of virus and the vampire fleets and all the fall of everything else. And this ties directly off of Traveler the New Era, which went into the early 1200s. And then Martin Doherty wrote the 1248 stuff, which I consider canon. I don't think that's actually considered canon. But after the 1248 stuff, we get Galaxiad. So there you go. And here we have the table of contents. I'm not going to go through the entire book because there's some really good stuff in here, and I don't want to spoil it for everybody. But finishing out our table of contents, we get the set that what we're doing is we are playing Traveler, and it's just in a different setting, basically. It can be far in the future. You could take this by itself, plug it in, and play some Traveler just in it, and have nothing to do with the old Imperium if you didn't want to. Or if you didn't like virus and any of the aspects of that, you could go ahead and dump it. Speaking for myself, I never really minded virus. I minded what they did with virus, destroying my Traveler universe. I didn't care for that, and I never was a huge fan of that. But I did play New Era, and I read the stuff, and I read the novels, and I really worked hard to like New Era, and then New Era died after only 3 years. But this gives us another look by Mark Millar of what the future is. 700 years after everything else fell, we have the Galaxiad. And we have Mark Millar himself at a psychohistory conference at IFATE, or IFATE, depending on how you say that, on 042-2023. In many ways, the Long Night was not a terrible time. There weren't interstellar plagues or wars. The various worlds just lived alone. It took Cleon's ambition and his technological progress of cold fusion to bring the new dawn. And there we have. We got a nice look at history. And this is history both of the Traveler universe that you're familiar with and going into the Galaxiad. And I did like that a lot. I love Traveler histories. I'm just kind of fun that way. And a lot of what's in Galaxiad was caused by the Wave, or the Empress Wave as we knew it in Traveler the New Era. And the Wave is something I have conflicting emotions about. I'll do a video on what the Wave is sometime in the future. It's essentially an impending doom of Traveler. So everything we're doing really doesn't matter because the wave is going to come in and stomp us all flat. But I'm going to talk about how I'm dealing with that in my campaign. And in fact, yes, the Empress Wave, and it's still called the Empress Wave, is actually something in my Traveler campaign. And I'll explain how I do it, but I'll do that in a future video. So the Galaxiad was founded in 1900 rather, and we go from there to the wave itself and what happened with the wave. And this is all tying off of the T5 stuff, and it is supported through X-Boat Special Supplement 2 and through a small 10-page fanzine called Imperial Lines that is picking up some of the stuff about the Galaxiad era, amongst other things, and that is also for T5. That is available on DriveThruRPG. They started with issue 6, and they've gone to issue, I believe, 12 now. The first couple of issues of that are about $3 or $4 each, and then after about issue 8, they went to $1 each for 10 pages, which is a pretty good deal. This one was about right around $9, I believe. You get 84 pages, 88 pages, right around in there. I thought it was a little stiff, but they were holding the information on Galaxiad back a little bit, saying, hey, if you want to pay it, I get that. You're here to make money. So I didn't mind paying it, and actually it's a very enjoyable read. And it will harken back to the early days of Traveler with the pen and ink drawings that we see throughout, because there's no color in here. Well, a little bit of color on that stuff, but I don't think there's any color pictures. And then we get that neat little picture that looks like it could have been drawn sometime in the 1980s, and that is not a criticism from me. That is a woohoo. I like that stuff. And there's some more artwork. So just a pretty interesting time. I'm going to do a little bit deeper dive into Galaxiad itself in the future. This is just an intro video of what is the Galaxiad. And I've told you, it's just another era for Travelers set in the far, far, far future. So if you want a game there, or like I said, you could simply pull the Galaxiad out, make it its own thing, and game with that in T5, Mongoose 2nd, or any other of the Cepheus sets would all work very well with it. But that's all I've got to say today about Galaxiad. As I said, this is just a primer. I will do a future video talking deeper about it and what's going on with it. I am just in the process of reading through the Imperial Lines, so anything new that gets added to that, I'll put into that future video. But that's all I've got today on page 121. Let me know what you think of the Galaxiad. If you're interested, if it's something you don't care about, I'll put a link to this book in the description below. Also, take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. Tell your friends, let's keep growing the channel. We've really slowed in growth in the last few months. I'd like to reverse that if we can. Like and leave comments if you would, and subscribe if you haven't. But that's all I've got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.